Welcome back to Financial Therapy. It's not just about the money. I'm personal financial planner, columnist, and financial therapist Rick Kahler. Research tells us that 90% of all financial decisions are made emotionally, not logically. For nearly 4 decades, I've been helping people make better money decisions. So what makes my financial worldview different from most financial experts? I blend the nuts and bolts of financial advice with the emotions that drive making them. Good money decisions are not just about the money. So let's get started with today's episode. Welcome back to another edition. And this is the third episode in a discussion with Deborah Kaplan, who is the co-author on Coupleship Inc. And we want to talk a little bit about our behaviors this time. So, and what I'd like to start with, and if you have the book, you can kind of follow along a little bit. In chapter 4, we're talking about assessments and exercises that you can use in conjunction with your behaviors. And what I would recommend is if you can either get the book, which is probably the easiest place to find this, or find the KMBI, the Klontz Money Behavior Inventory -R, and take that. You could get kind of a what do I want to call it, Deb? Unbiased?
Well, probably a more honest appraisal.
Yeah, of your money behaviors. It's only 22 questions. So it's very quick. And if you get a printed version, you'll be able to self-score it. So it's very, very quick.
Very easy, very user-friendly.
And
you may not like what it reveals, but it's very user.
Yeah, we will talk about what it revealed for me when we get to it. So, and it's not on every money behavior. I think it only covers 8. And we're going to go through more than that.
Mm-hmm. And that's already significant.
Kind of hits the big ones. So let's start with money behaviors with workaholism. I call this my drug of choice.
Say more.
Well, I mean, I remember I worked 80 hours a week and my marriage was suffering, which is not unusual. And I remember my wife and I had a big fight and I went down to the office and worked. So some people would drink. Other people would eat.
So I'm going to be a stand-in for the listener because at this very moment I'm thinking, well, that's a very positive way to take your stress and your frustration and channel it into a very healthy behavior. What's wrong with that? I can think of worse things, but
I thought so.
So where's the line between what is healthy and or what becomes problematic? And that's what we should be thinking for any of these behaviors and or actions that we do over and over compulsively or within a healthy limitations.
Yeah, you bring out precisely one of the issues with workaholism. Very other isms. Do you earn more money with if you have it? Do you get positive feedback from society and your employer? So it's a tough addiction, maybe similar to a food addiction or a sex addiction. I'm not sure if that's really correct, but it's something. I mean, food. We gotta have food to live.
Right, they're all process.
We have to have sex to live, but
you don't have to have sex to live, but you need relationships.
Right.
And we have to learn how to have a healthy interaction with other human beings. We have to have a healthy relationship with food. And we have to, in this society, learn to have a healthy relationship with money and work, because those are referred to as process addictions or behaviors.
Yeah. So I didn't. Also back in that time, my whole modus operandi, the way I worked, my goal was to not feel. Really mature people are on a flat line. They don't show emotion. That is a sign you've arrived. I laugh today. So many things wrong with that.
It's wonderful that you can laugh, although you're enjoying what I'm hearing you say is that you're able to see the limitations of what you saw as healthy and a healthy, or what you thought was a healthy adaptation to stress or marital strife, when now you look back and can see that may not really have been the case.
Yeah. And that ties into now, how do I know? How do I know I'm recovered from work addiction, and how do I know that when I'm medicated?
That's a very, very good question. It's hard. It's sometimes not easy to answer.
For me, I make it rather simplistic, but I ask myself, am I in pain? Now, in the past, I didn't know I was in pain. Today, I understand that. I feel sad. I feel angry. Here's what's going on. And if I am aware of pain of some type, of difficult emotions, that would be a sign that I'm medicating. Mm-hmm. If I'm going to my work to try and soothe that. If I'm not, and this is funny too, because I've been a great believer, evangelist, as many life planners are, of try to do work that's play. Try to do work for your occupation that's play.
Meaning
this isn't work. I love this.
So
I do this for nothing. Huh?
Right. If you have a passion, you'll never work another day in your life.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I have succeeded in making 2/3 or 80% of my workday that. Okay. So now it's like, well, when do I need to stop playing? And
so I want to circle back to something that you touched on, which I think is a really important distinction. That there is nothing wrong, and you and I would never, ever say that to work hard is a problem. And for any listener or anyone who perceives that is what we're saying, we're not. There is nothing wrong. It's very healthy, very productive to be driven, to have goals, to have some very strong convictions, and to work hard at something. And as we say in the book, working hard is different than a work compulsion, a compulsion or drive to have to work. That when we are self-medicating, changing our mood, escaping, using the work as an escape from life, people, place, and thing, now we start wading into what's problematic. And there's a very famous quote, David Chang is a chef. He's also the originator and creator of the Ugly Delicious series on Netflix. And he has quoted in a podcast I heard on Tim Ferriss' show, he said, unlike alcoholics who have to hit bottom to know they have a problem, those who are workaholics are at the zenith of their career, the height of their success, when they have hit, so to speak, their bottom.
Mm-hmm. That's
and
good.
That press point of being the most successful at their career pursuit is when they are at their most unhealthy. It's really what he's getting at. That's a tough proposition.
That is tough. So how do you handle that? When Rick Kahler comes to you at the zenith of his career?
I say to Rick, I would say to you, as I have said to other, and that's a really, really good question, because the question is not what I make of your situation, is what brings you in today that you are struggling.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
And you, the financial planner, when a couple may come in to see you and one in the coupleship says, I never see my spouse, they're working all the time. Sure, we can afford a vacation and to retire sooner than later, or we can buy another car. I don't have a relationship. I'm living with a ghost. How does the financial planner in you handle that?
Yeah, that's a really good point, because in so many things, I think our partner can be the canary in the coal mine. And in the recovery community, I learned that if it's a problem for the partner, it's probably a problem.
Right.
Like drinking.
It's acknowledged or not by the person.
Right. So I think that's another one where I've checked in with my wife on occasion, like, is this a problem? Especially when we're raising kids, and like, no, when you're here and with the kids, you're with the kids. Okay. And going on vacation, for example, I now have a pocket smartphone. And when she goes away, we're on vacation or does something, boop, I get on the smartphone, I answer all my emails, I'm done. She comes back, smartphone goes away. So how is that for you? She says, oh, it's so much better than it used to be. Because you spent half our vacation looking for an internet cafe.
So she doesn't mind in this way that you're working, but it's not co-opting the time you have together.
That's the key, right? If you go to
and that works in your
on your phone, this doesn't work.
And that works in your coupleship. That may not be the case for everyone listening or watching.
Correct.
But it certainly works because as a couple, that's what is been an outcome that is healthy for both.
So I would see workaholics a lot, right? As a financial planner. And you hit on something that I think is really pertinent. And this is the person that could retire today. They don't need to be working. And that certainly is a sign, especially if the spouse is unhappy. I don't see you. We need more time together, etc. That's probably a pretty good sign of work addiction.
Yeah. And like any addiction, it's not someone else's job or place to assign whether one has or does not have an addiction or a problem.
Yeah, it doesn't go down well to tell the work addict, I think you're addicted to work. You probably should go get some counseling.
Certainly if it's unsolicited, I bet.
Totally.
Yeah. Stay away in striking distance.
But it's something that an in-tune planner can be aware of and help the couple explore in a safe manner without labeling one is being wrong and one is being right.
So I have a scenario here for you. I'm going to throw us a curveball that's going to kind of another behavior. I'm in a coupleship. I come into your office as a financial planner. We're here to get some planning. We're not here for therapy, but lo and behold, Rick, the financial planner, sees that he's got a job to do because I'm complaining about my partner spouse here. He works all the time. We have no relationship. Yeah, we could retire sooner than later. On the other hand, says partner, spouse, about me. Well, if I don't earn this money, given that we've agreed you're going to watch the kids and raise them because we both want a stay-at-home parent, and yet you do a lot of spending, where's this money going to come from? I don't spend half what I earn, but you do. and you spend a lot. Are you willing to curtail your spending? Because otherwise, how am I going to stop working? End scene. And there you have it.
Excellent curveball. So that first thing that pops in my mind is, well, what is reality? The one partner perceives that the other partner is going to have to stop spending. If I stop working, you've got to stop spending. And I think in your setup, the other spouse was saying we could afford to retire today. You don't need to be working, right?
Right. But it seems to irk my partner that I'm spending.
Yeah. Well, there's a whole nother issue, which we call compulsive buying or shopping. But that needs to be sorted out as to, and this is why a financial therapist can be so helpful, because the therapist, and you can confirm or deny this, the therapist doesn't know what reality is.
Absolutely.
And can help them have the conversation, right?
Yeah.
But doesn't know. And with a financial therapist, if they're coming to me for financial therapy, but even with a planner, you have this, you have all the blood work, so to speak. You know, as the planner or the financial therapist, what the truth is. That, yeah, they could continue their exact same lifestyle with whatever the one projects as overspending forever. Or no, the spending would have to stop. There'd have to be some modification. They could retire today, but not on the current outflow of cash.
Right, and maintain that same level of cost at level at which they're living, with the same expenditures and expenses that they anticipate incurring at the same pace. And things only get more expensive, not less. So what my spouse may not have challenged me on is that, yes, I spend. What he may not also be saying, and that you, the planner, may yet not know. And that financial therapist, again, it's only what our clients give us. We're not mind readers, and we're not clairvoyants, and we can't predict the future. We can only read where we are today and extrapolate out. But there might be a setup wherein there's now going to become debt. The mortgage, if there's a mortgage or there's any kind of debt that has to be satisfied, the spending that goes towards all of that debt, which isn't satisfying the debt load, but because it's being used to buy things, may eventually become a problem. And so today there isn't one.
Yep, exactly. So that's what I would often do, is see if giving some knowledge would help.
Say more. What do you mean?
Well, here's your income, here's your outgo. You can retire today on exactly what your spending level is. If the other spouse is saying, yeah, you got to stop your spending for me to stop working. Well, to give them some, let me see if I got this right. Here's, maybe I even have a graph for them or something visual so that they can see, no, see here, it never goes down. It keeps going up. So is the knowledge going to be enough for the workaholic to go, oh, got it?
It's a really good real life question. And sometimes do you ever find out?
Well, I think if the second spouse truly is a workaholic, they're either not going to believe it, there's going to be some other case, or we're going to deflect to something else.
Or they'll rationalize again.
This is an addiction.
Yeah.
And we aren't talking about logic, which this is unproven, but I'm saying 80% of money behaviors, money issues, money scripts are anchored in emotional trauma.
Mm-hmm. Or a financial trauma attached.
Exactly. So that's why I have said so many times that typically more knowledge doesn't help. That doesn't mean that the financial therapist or the financial planner shouldn't give some knowledge,
because it just may be that fixes it. Well, great.
Right. Wakes them up to a reality they were not willing to take in or even
Totally.
solve.
And sometimes that is exactly what's needed. So that's usually the first place I begin is with more knowledge. And if that fixes the problem, great. Or it could fix the problem momentarily. And then anybody can change behavior, I say, for 30 days.
Sure. Anyone can do it for a while.
It's white knuckle. So that's kind of how I would approach that is, well, let's kind of test this, not overtly, and see what the case is and what's really true.
What I tend to say to clients when that same scenario shows up in my office, what I say to the couple, if it's not an individual, but I present it to the coupleship, because remember, they both are in that together. They have agreed to and abide by being with each other. And what I say to both of them is that there's a cost and a benefit. There's a cost and a benefit to every behavior we do. The work that you, spouse number two, are engaging in, perhaps problematically. The spending that spouse number one does, perhaps problematically. You both are engaging in behaviors that is self-serving, even though you perceive this as doing it for the other. And at some point, there'll be a cost to this benefit, a cost to your behavior. And it's the outcome you're willing to live with. There might be a detriment to your intimacy, your emotional connection. There might be a detriment to your sex life, sexual intimacy, a detriment to your children, a detriment to just the closeness or the relationship existing. And so it's the cost and benefit of the behavior that we have to look at, and kind of like those 3 circle exercises we have in the book, often found in recovery circles.
So, Deb, what are the soundbite bullet points that every reporter is after? But what do I do if I suspect that I have workaholism? If I have a little crack of maybe I'd become willing to do this.
Well, I think you give yourself, or the person you're working with gives you a big acknowledgement, because it takes a lot to acknowledge maybe there's something that is amiss. That's the first thing. Acknowledgement is key. And an acknowledgement that I'm willing to take a step, whatever that step may be. Speak to a financial therapist or speak to a therapist. Begin to look at, what am I afraid to let go of? Because the work is covering some other emotion or something they're avoiding. What is it that person is, or you're avoiding? And then look at, what are the steps I'm willing to take? These are also other exercises we have in the book. So it's the acknowledgement to oneself that I may or may not have a problem, but I'm willing to look at it. 2, the acknowledgement of, okay, I'm willing to take a step. I'll talk to a therapist. Who do I need to talk to? Financial planner, financial therapist. And then, what is the one step I'm willing to do? What step am I willing to take? And what is it I'm afraid to look at? I might be doing this because I'm avoiding something or someone else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So at that point in time, it sounds like it becomes some personal work on yourself.
For sure.
That would be outside of the coupleship. This is not necessarily anything that's going to fix itself in the relationship. I can imagine a spouse or a partner going, well, if he or she would just get a hold of this workaholism, everything would be fine because they are the problem.
Yeah, we'd all love to find that scapegoat, wouldn't we?
But that said, it's still, to your point, and in my words, what vulnerability, what wound is there? What deep embedded emotion am I trying to medicate and cover up with the work?
Yeah. And that is not always easy to discern, right? Because if it were that on the surface in our face, we wouldn't have such a difficult time avoiding it.
Right.
So easier said than done, but not impossible.
It is so painful that I have spent my life resisting it. Right? So it can't be just, okay. It's this time in my life as a child when great, all done, fixed.
Yeah. Solved. No, not so solved. But one step at a time, perhaps in recovery speak, one day at a time. Mm-hmm. And recognizing not so much what I know I'm going to get, but what am I willing to replace the behavior with, and what is the behavior doing? What is it covering?
Exactly. We have those 3 steps in the book.
We do, the three circle exercise.
So that would be acknowledging.
Well, the 3 circle exercise is an exercise that is often found in many recovery, pardon the pun, circles. 3 concentric circles. The innermost inner circle represents behaviors or actions that we take when we are active in problematic, compulsive, or addictive behavior. Mm-hmm. It's often also referred to as the red circle. Yeah. And that's referred to it in the book. The yellow circle, or the middle circle, slippery slope behaviors, things that we do that may cause us to fall deeper into compulsive addictive behaviors, or at least problematic, and that they themselves may also be in the inner circle, but they also could represent, for example, not eating properly, which gets us wrapped up, and we work too long, we don't take steps to take care of ourselves, and we end up becoming, working 12, 15 hours a day and without stop. And that's the yellow circle. And then the outer circle, also what we refer to in the book as the green circle, it is the behaviors or actions that we take that are healthy, that maintain sobriety, maintain health, and that will keep us in a balanced, much more mindful place. And these 3 circles apply to any behavior and any number of behaviors that somebody would like to be able to clearly see and categorize so they can work on.
So in this particular diagram, would you work from the red out?
I think it's easy, once one has identified what those compulsions and addictions are, to work from the inside out.
Yeah.
At times,
from the inside out. What a nice phrase.
Yeah. That shows up later in our book too, but in a different way, doesn't it? It's all synchronistically tied.
Well, I think we're close to the witching hour. I didn't set the clock when we started.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm going by feel. And to the listener, we kind of planned on getting through about 5 different behaviors. We did one.
We only got through one. We kind of got through 1 and 2. Spending.
Well, when you look at compulsive shopping or spending, it actually is there's a lot more to say on that.
Oh, there's a lot more to say.
So, but that's cool. That's what a podcast is about. And we get to have these unscripted conversations because, believe me, this is absolutely unscripted. We did not talk about what we're going to talk about outside of workaholism.
That's what actually makes it, I think, much more organic, because we're really speaking from the heart of what we know and what we have been able to write about.
Yeah, and hopefully this can help the words in the book come to life. Okay, well, thank you so much, Deb, and we will look forward to doing this again.
Thanks for joining me, Rick Kahler, for another episode of Financial Therapy. It's not just about the money. This is where I combine the nuts and bolts of financial advice with the emotions that drive making them. Remember, every financial behavior whether it appears illogical to you or others, makes perfect sense when we understand the underlying beliefs, feelings, and thoughts. Sign up for my weekly blog at financialawakenings.com. I hope you'll join me again for our next episode.